I appreciate everybody joining today. It looks like the numbers are still climbing, which is exciting to see. We have probably the most exciting webinar topic that I've got to be a part of, and I get the privilege of being able to host the webinar. The main attendee or the main presenter here today that I'm going to be interviewing with is going to be Jeff Reedy. Jeff's our CEO and co-founder. For those that haven't had the privilege of meeting with Jeff, but I'd say a lot of these people on here, Jeff, you've probably interacted in one way or the other over the years.
Yeah, I definitely see some names I recognize and some that I don't. So welcome to the new folks. We did get a question. Somebody said they don't have any sound. Hopefully other people are getting sound. So I don't know. If you are hearing sound, somebody just ask a question that says, I hear you, and we'll keep going. So
Yeah, that would be terrible if we recorded this and there was no sound to the whole thing, but we should be
okay.
good.
Yeah, we got some I hear yous. All right.
Yeah.
Right on, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick and Miguel. Awesome. So for today's webinar, obviously there's a pretty significant thing that happened in the market to kick off 2024. It's been quite the roller coaster for everybody. We knew it was coming. We had predictions of what was going to happen when it came. Analysts kind of predicted what's going to happen when the Broadcom acquisition of VMware went through. Finally went through in November, and there's been a lot of things that have affected everybody from partners, distributors, end users, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And obviously, there's there's things that we can do to help these customers that are going through tough times. There's a lot of things that we're doing to adapt to this, to make it easier to be that VMware alternative for people. So we're going to talk a little bit today about what we're seeing in the industry. I know there's a lot of you, obviously everyone that's registered for this is probably aware of what's happening what's happening. They've seen the news, but I don't think anybody is as close to this as Jeff has been. And everything that I say that I've had conversations with is pretty much regurgitated information from Jeff or somebody else on the product team. So we've obviously been very close to this. So we want to share the information that we're aware of, what we see the impact from end users, from partners, and then talk a little bit about what are we doing about that? What are programs we're coming out with? What shifts are we making to make an impact and help all of these customers and partners that are being left a little bit in a disgruntled position where they're not necessarily feeling that they're getting taken care of, or they're getting the margins, or they're getting the pricing that they used to get as of 2 months ago. And then to wrap things off, we also have Mike Lyon here. Mike Lyon on our solutions architect team is going to be running through probably the most talked about question when we talk about VMware alternative, and that's migrations. So he's going to talk through many of the different options that we have available and put a couple slides together for that piece of it. So welcome, Jeff. Welcome, Mike. If you guys are both ready, we'll get into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Roll. I guess one other thing is housekeeping. I said I'd start with housekeeping, but I didn't do a good job of that. Q&A, fire questions away. I've already seen a ton of questions been answered. We've got people in the background that can answer the questions. I'm going to be monitoring it though, so we'll try to get to them throughout it. If I miss any, we'll get to them at the end. And if I absolutely can't get to all the questions, because there's a record amount of attendees on this one that I've ever seen, then we'll absolutely follow up with answers to all the questions that you guys asked. And that's just in the Q&A function at the bottom. Awesome. All right. So Jeff, let's level set here. So we've got a wide audience on this call. I went through the list last night when we figured there's not going to be too many more registrants coming in. I was wrong. There was a lot of registrants that came in even today. But looking through that list, there's a bit of a mix of people that have been partnered with us, maybe that haven't been totally active, people that have been partnered with us that have been very active, people that probably are very new to Scale and never heard of us before. This has been very widespread of a topic, and just putting out anything to do with VMware alternative has turned a lot of heads, and there's a lot of interest in the market right now. So I don't want to assume that everybody knows exactly who Scale Computing is, and I'm obviously the sales guy that can give a pitch on who Scale Computing is, but there's nobody better to hear it from than the CEO and co-founder, yourself. So why don't you give everybody level set on who is Scale Computing, give your company overview from your perspective.
Yeah, sure. And hello, everyone. My name is Jeff Reedy, as Scott mentioned. I am the co-founder as well as the CEO of Scale. So, Scale started in my basement about 16 years ago, and we've been at it ever since. I started Scale specifically, as ironically now, to be a VMware alternative. That was the genesis of the company. And the idea was to provide a kind of a new way of running applications and infrastructure. You know, the kind of the key magic behind Scale is an AI ops model that we call AIM for those that aren't familiar. And this AI engine is designed to detect and correct problems that commonly occur in IT infrastructure without human intervention, all in the name of keeping applications up and running. And so this was the genesis. So, you know, while today I think the word du jour is VMware alternative, right? I really started the company to be a VMware upgrade, and to really have something that was more advanced in terms of stability, high availability, ease of use, all of these sorts of things. Now, the other thing about Scale, and I know that the partners who are existing partners, you know this, but for those that are new, we started Scale 100% channel from the very beginning. So we were always, you know, structured to go through the channel, work with the channel. My entire team on the go-to-market side, and really the company as a whole, has been designed to work with partners like you. And I think that there's probably no better time to emphasize that based on what's happened in the market over the past few weeks. You know, when you work with Scale, right, you'll have not only a channel team that works to onboard you, to train you, to help you with programs and promotions and marketing activity, and you know, sending you leads and working with you to generate new leads and all this kind of stuff, but all the way through on individual deals. My sales team inside Scale, their entire function is working with partners on deals, and helping, you know, whether, you know, you're a brand new partner and you need us to do almost all the heavy lifting, that's totally fine. If you're an experienced partner and you just need us to wait in the wings in case, you know, you need that extra help, that's fine too, right? And when we kind of run the gamut. So, you know, as it relates to our position in the market, and, you know, for those that have, you know, seen our website and so forth, over the last several years, we've really pushed a lot around edge computing. But this isn't to mean that we don't do traditional data center and traditional office as well. We always have done across the board. Obviously, 16 years ago, there was no such thing as edge computing. At least there was no cool word like edge computing. There was always, I guess, the elements of it. But one of the things that we saw was that VMware was particularly weak at the edge, right? When you get out there, kind of outside the data center, this need for automation and high availability and a new kind of technology was most prevalent. And so we aggressively went after that market and have lots of success. And in fact, some of the biggest deployments in the world now run on Scale out at the edge. However, right, that doesn't mean that we're any less functional at that core data center, because this is what we've always done. You know, we've always been, you know, kind of across the board. The other thing I think that you'll find with Scale is that we openly embrace and promote all of our customers, not just the big enterprise ones. Yes, I'm very excited when we get a you know, Fortune 500 company with a massive deployment. Those are great. We all love them. However, at the same time, you know, I will reach out. I mean, so if you have a customer, I'll give you an example. So I had a partner the other day reached out to me. They had an opportunity for a VMware replacement. It's a very small company. It was a lumber mill in Wisconsin, and this was one IT person who was very junior, who was nervous about what was going on. They knew their pricing was going to change. They knew everything was going to change, and they just asked if I could send them a quick email and just kind of reassure them that we were good. And I said, I'll do you one better. I'll just call the guy. And I talked to them for an hour and a half, right? Going into depth about Scale and everything. And I am 100% happy to do that. right? In fact, I just as we were getting the webinar started here, I changed my name in the list here. So you've got my email, which is cleverly jeff@scalecomputing.com. It's not too hard to figure out. But everybody on the call should feel free to contact me anytime, right? I'm happy to jump in. I'm happy to help you guys. I'm happy to answer questions about the company, about the product. I am a recovering software engineer myself, so I know a lot of details about how the product works, but also the company, the history, the case that we have thousands of published case studies online. So even though no, we didn't run an ad during the Super Bowl, although maybe this is the year I wish I would have. We may not be as well known as others out there, but we have thousands of customers, tens of thousands of deployments, and we've got something that will work with you guys. But again, to underscore and finish up my opening statement here, which I know is longer than Scott was expecting me to talk, but 100% channel all the time. That's how we go to market. That's how the business is structured. That's how my support team is structured. The sales team is structured. Right, the entire company is designed to create what I refer to, and this is actually in our company handbook, is the best ever vendor partner that our channel partners have ever worked with and ever will work with in their entire career. So anyway, opening thoughts for you, Scott. So
That's great. Yeah, I always expect it to be longer than I expect. So a conversation with you and I expecting to put this into an hour is going to be very tight for us, but we'll manage. I think one of the things though that you said there that I wanted to highlight was, I mean, you reached out to you've reached out to customers of many sizes. Like on the weekends, I've gotten messages from Jeff like, hey, I just had a conversation with this person. I was like, Jeff, it's Saturday. I'll reach out to him, but like, what are you doing on a Saturday? And that's very unique from what something you do as a CEO, but that type of engagement is something that trickles down through the rest of the organization. And that's something that really bleeds through us all. Like we want to be the best. We want to be the best when in terms of vendor that you've worked with, channel company that you've worked with, product that you've worked with. So anything that anybody comes to us with, like you're very much a mirror image of the top, right? So I very much embrace that. And if I don't have my email. I wasn't smart enough to put my email in the name here, but I agree with that sentiment. Anybody can reach out to me if anything's needed, and especially on a global scale. I have good knowledge of anything from selling into North America and also all the way through EMEA and APAC and LATAM, I should say. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of news. There's been a lot of analysts talking about everything to do with VMware. I'm sure people have had a chance to read it, but it's a lot. There's a lot of information coming in. It's all, for us, it's been in real time. Like every week there seems to be something different that changes. So from your perspective, why don't you tell us a little bit? We'll break this out into two sections. So tell us a little bit about what you're seeing as an impact to customers first, and then we'll hit on maybe on the partner side after that. But what are you seeing from the acquisition of Broadcom that is affecting end users, that's creating some of this commotion in the industry right now?
Well, yeah, there's a lot, right? And there's things that seem to be changing almost on a daily basis. Anecdotally, I've seen some real challenges, and I can, I'll give a few examples as I'm talking here, I'm sure. But there's initial questions around pricing, right? I mean, the different types of pricing, and while the headline from Broadcom might be that pricing is going down, the reality is that if you fit into the right hole, your pricing went down. But for many customers, the pricing goes up because they've eliminated some. Somebody said they can't hear me. I assume you guys can hear me, right? Yeah. All right. Yeah, I see people nodding. All right, I'm going to keep going. So, they've eliminated, some of the, lower end solutions. They've even some of the higher end solutions. They're requiring different kinds of bundles that maybe so effectively. And this is an old trick in enterprise software, right? You require people to buy features they're not going to use, even though because that just to get the feature they do want, they've got to be at the low end there. So I've seen a lot of that. The other thing that we're seeing is that in many ways the product is being torn apart right? There's elements such as VDI, right? So for those of you who have deployed Horizon, from everything I can see, there's active efforts to sell that off and strip that down. And I expect that we'll see a lot of that. This has been the kind of standard procedure for Broadcom across other acquisitions, is to strip out things that aren't as profitable, to focus on really their top 600 customers. The right in the opening, and this was easily missed, but right when Broadcom announced they were acquiring VMware, so a little over a year ago, and they gave in their it's a public company, so if you can find this recording, but the CEO was talking about how Broadcom's business model is based on 80% of the revenue coming from 600 customers, and their focus is to drive the product, drive the pricing, drive everything towards those 600. And if you're in that 600, maybe that's fine. But if you're 601 through 100,000, that's probably not great. So these are some of the things. I talked to a partner last week or week before. One of their customers is a children's hospital. So this is a heartbreaking sort of thing, but it's why it sticks in my head. A children's hospital. Bad timing. They were up for renewal of their license in January. And so when they got their renewal quote from Broadcom, their pricing jumped from $5,000 a year, right? It wasn't a big customer, to $42,000 a year, which is a nonprofit, right? So they hadn't budgeted for this. They reached out to their partner. The partner got the VMware rep as well as the new Broadcom rep on the phone to discuss the situation and really to see if there might at least be a transition plan where they could, get through a period of time and budget for whatever they need to budget for. And as the partner relayed it to me, the answer they got from Broadcom was, "We're sorry, VMware is not for everyone," which is just terrible, right? And I, on a personal basis, not only is that story terrible, but to transition into kind of the partner side of this, I obviously, being in the business 16 years here and being in IT for a lot longer than that, VMware was built on the channel, right? It was folks like you taking this product out there, getting customers, making it a core part of your offering, and to see, just how the channel kind of gets tossed aside like yesterday's garbage in this transition is difficult for me to watch. It's a great business opportunity for scale, right? That's why you guys are here. But on a personal level, it is painful. Again, and I'm not sitting here just bashing Broadcom, right? This is Broadcom's business model, and it works for them, right? If you see what they did with Symantec, right? Even though the product's not as good and all these things, Broadcom made a lot of money on that, and that's what they're going to do here. That's totally fine. At the same time, you look at what did happen to Symantec. The quality of the product declined, how they interacted with the channel declined, customers declined, and other vendors. So, CrowdStrike comes to mind. Other vendors emerged to fill that gap. And that's why we're talking to you guys today, right? Especially those who are new to hearing the Scale story. We've been here the whole time. We have a proven product that works. We have this channel first mentality, and we know that works. We have the programs in place where we generate opportunities that we feed those straight back out to the channel, and we have the programs in place to work with you guys to say, hey, here's what we've seen other partners do with us, and this is what works, and we can do that together, right? So I know that together we can get out there and we can capture a lot of that market and just help the customers through this transition, right? It's interesting. We talked about, I talked about the lumber mill or the children's hospital. I'm getting the same kind of emails from large enterprise, right? Large enterprises that are saying, hey, we lived through the Symantec transition, and we're not looking to do that again, right? So tell us about Scale, and we can fit those, we can fit those opportunities as well. The other thing that's happened, I'm sure many people on this call probably experienced this, but Broadcom, took the top, 3,000 or 4,000 VMware customers and just said those are now direct, right? Sorry, channel. we're glad you brought them to us or brought them to VMware originally, but now we're just taking those, right? We don't do that here, right? I mean, again, that just seems, I mean, maybe it's profitable, but that just seems morally wrong to me. So we're not doing that. Right. We're in this together. We know we're in it together. And again, my goal is to be the best vendor partner that you guys will work with across your entire career, right? So whether you retire next year, whether you retire 30 years from now, you look back and say, hey, that Jeff guy from Scale, these were the best guys that we ever worked with. And that's my goal.
And I think the most encouraging part about all of this is that while these changes are happening and it's scary times for a lot of customers, there's never been a time to be looking at a VMware alternative, and there's maybe there's reasons that they should have made a switch before, but they were so comfortable in what they've been doing over the last decades, and now's that opportunity to be disruptive. So from our perspective and from all of your perspective as a partner, it's like you have an opportunity to disrupt the market with us, and it could be something very exciting from a growth perspective. So it's about you guys need to figure out who's your VMware alternative that you guys are going to go in with. And I think we're doing a lot of really cool things that we'll talk about, from product promotion, anything that we can do to make that transition as easy as possible for customers, and something as easy as possible for you to communicate to customers about why making that switch. Would you prepare marketing materials specifically targeted to VMware customers? Absolutely. We have that, and I will touch on that when I get into my slides, but there's tons of stuff on the partner portal, tons of stuff on the on their landing pages on the website, but I'll get into that as well. So Jeff, we talked about the impact of the end user impact. What are you seeing from the partner side?
Yeah, well, again, I've seen, partners kind of reeling both from, this idea that customers are being taken away from them. And once that happens, right? I mean, and many partners have lived through this from various vendors over the years. I mean, once the dam is broken, so to speak, I mean, there's no limit to what they might take direct, right? They could take them all direct if they want to. I mean, this is part of the challenge, and this is why that I think that one of the biggest challenges that we had in the very early days of Scale, but that I'm proud that we've accomplished, is building the trust, right? Building a trusted relationship with the channel that no, we weren't taking deals direct. Yes, we know that, sometimes we have to work with the partner to deliver a price point to a customer that's outside the norm and things like this. And, that doesn't mean, hey, we kick the partner out and take it direct, and that's how we reach the price point. That's the no-go, right? Now we work with you guys and make it happen. And so, I think there's a lot going on there. Now, to tie it all together, though, what I was talking about with the end users as well as with the partners, there is a huge opportunity for all of you as partners to build a practice around moving customers off of VMware. And we're obviously here to help with that. I talked to some analysts from Gartner few days ago, and they said that their estimate, and this is, Gartner probably skews to larger enterprise, so I would imagine these numbers are even bigger if you get into the mid-market, but we'll just go with what they told me. About 1/3 of VMware customers are actively looking to move off of VMware in the next 12 to 18 months, which means those are opportunities right now. Right, we can get those guys right now. We can help you get them. Another 1/3 are looking to build a plan that gets them off in the next 1 to 3 years. Right, so over the next 36 months, 2/3 of VMware customers are looking to make a move. Right, you don't see this kind of shift very often. Right, and certainly not in my career, having done this for 30 plus years. I mean, I've never seen this kind of thing, and I can tell you guys that what we see from the Scale side, just in terms of end users inquiring with Scale, coming to our website, filling out forms, which is probably you guys do this too, right? The heaviest lift is somebody just spontaneously showing up, filling out a form and saying, hey, please contact me, right? I mean, you love to get those. They don't happen all that often. We've seen an increase in the 10x plus multiplier of what we normally would see on a daily basis is what's happening right now. So there's massive demand out there, And so, and I know Scott's going to talk about this in a bit, but the kinds of programs that we've put together to work with you guys to go after it, right? That's the immediate opportunity. You know, if somebody has, we had a customer or a prospect rather, Fortune 500 company, very, very large, Fortune 100 company, really came to us interested in moving off of VMware. They, they had, it's very large. So they have some gear, some hardware they just purchased. Can we run on that hardware? All these kinds of things. So we engaged with them and started talking. And we're putting together a plan to transition them over the long haul. But as it turned out, just in those discussions, they said, "Oh, well, there's actually some immediate low hanging fruit with some of our, branch office, factory floor edge type stuff that we could do like right now." Right. So even though they came to us thinking, give me a 24, 36 month plan, yeah, in those discussions, bam, we've got an immediate opportunity in the next 3 to 6 months. So these things are out there, right? And you work with us to get after it. We would be happy to help.
And I think this is just kind of segueing off one of the questions in there. What I'm seeing from VMware is they're limiting their, or Broadcom is limiting their partner scope. So they went from a very inclusive partner program to now, kind of the invite only model that Broadcom has always been. And I think with some of the bad press that they've been getting, they're expanding that out a bit. But their main thing is they're favoring the top of the top, which it's probably not a lot of you on this call right now, and that's probably why you're on this call to listen about it. And we do have a partner program. We have a partner program if you're a distributor, if you're a reseller, if you're a service provider that addresses all of the different needs that you might have, and it's very inclusive. Whatever you guys want to get out of us, we're willing to fill the gaps of what you need. If you want to do everything from start to finish, we can help you with that. If you want us to help you with onboarding, implementation, management, whatever need be, we're just here to fill in the gaps of what you might need today, and then that can change in the future as well as we grow this partnership out. So Jeff, I've had the opportunity to have a lot of new conversations with distributors, but partners, resellers that maybe weren't looking at an alternative to VMware 2 months ago, and they're very excited about the prospect of building out something new with us. The one question that I always get that I think is probably the most exciting question to answer is, why scale? But more importantly, why now?
Yeah, I mean, I think that why scale? When you look at, again, this demand, customers are looking to something else besides VMware. Certainly, as partners who may be a bit disenfranchised with what's happening, you may be actively looking to build a practice around moving off of VMware. There's a couple of things that happen in every scenario, right? One is, will the technology work? Is the technology proven, right? And in this case, again, we've been in the market for 16 years, right? Tens and tens of thousands of deployments, thousands of published case studies. If you have a customer who has the question, well, this looks good, but will this application run on scale, or do they have customers running this application? The answer is going to be yes, right? We have lots of, and we have probably we have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of different applications that run on scale. And so we can point you so that the product works, right? The product is very robust. As far as the channel goes, right? Again, I've said this a few times, but we are 100% channel focused. And so, we have the highest rated channel program in the 40-year history of CRN, which is not by accident, right? This is something we've invested in over a decade plus in making that work and having the tools and building a program that can work with how the channel works. And as a simple example, but it was a question that came up here on licensing. We have a number of different licensing models to address not just the end customer needs, but the needs of the partners. So if you're an MSP and you bill your customers monthly, we have a consumption-based pricing model where we charge you monthly to match how you're being paid by your end customers. On the other hand, if you're selling into a customer, which is a large traditional data center, and the most effective pricing is going to be a core-based model, we do have core-based pricing. if you're selling into a smaller environment or a highly distributed edge type environment, we have site licensing where you can, license based on number of locations, even changing that pricing based on number of workloads that are going to run there. Right. One of the, a big gap, as it turns out, through the Broadcom VMware transaction is that they've eliminated, ESXi free. And so you have deployments out there where a customer may have been running even a single VM. We've seen, right? 1, 2, 3 VMs. We have a license that works for them, right? Which is different than, they don't need to license 1 trillion cores to run one workload. Right. It could be a simple site license where they can run, up to 5, let's say, right? There's different options there. So we've got the pricing that will work. We have a proven product, and in the warm and fuzzy, but I think it's important, right, is that not only do we have the highest rated channel program, but we also have the highest rated technical support that I would expect any of you will ever encounter. We are, I personally take tech support very seriously. Philosophically, I believe that support is every bit as much a part of the product as is the software and the silicon that gets shipped to customers, right? And that support experience, really the experience with Scale begins pre-sales. Just first working with you guys as the channel, then with the customer through the pre-sale experience, then initial deployment, then what happens on an ongoing basis. Obviously, the product is designed so it fixes most of its own problems, as we've talked about. But when it doesn't, and it is IT, so it's always corner cases, when it doesn't, we have a support team in place to take those calls. Our net promoter score on support is nearly 100. It's always in the high 90s. So it's an extremely good experience. And really the customer and you as the partner should feel like Scale as a company and Scale support is sort of right there shoulder to shoulder. It's Scale, it's the partner, it's the customer. We're all trying to solve the problem together. And that's what we've got. And the third thing, I know we're going to talk about this, Mike Lyon will show it here in a few minutes. But okay, the product, sounds robust. The company and the price, this company sounds great. The pricing sounds great, but how do I make the move? Right. And we have multiple ways to win there, right? Multiple tools. We can provide services. You can provide services. There's lots of ways to make the migration. And so, why now? The demand is out there, right? And why Scale? It's a proven product. It's a proven company that works with the channel, and we have the tools to not only make it easy to move over, but to run things on an ongoing basis.
Nice. And the one thing you hit on with licensing was there was a question there as well. We do have an MSP license model as well, MSP, CSP, whatever. However you want to consume it, it's more of just a monthly model. So we can absolutely help you with that. A follow-up question on the licensing, Jeff. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here, but this isn't a question I've seen yet, which I'm shocking. I've been reading through all the questions, and there's a lot, so we won't be able to get to them all, but we'll do our best. What about those that, some of these partners have good relationships with hardware vendors as it is? Being a VMware alternative means it's software, right? How do we displace the software that they're currently selling? What happens with the hardware? Is there a solution that we have to displace VMware without changing who they're selling on the hardware side?
Yes. So first and foremost, right, those opportunities come up. We see them all. I mean, we see them constantly now. Bring those to us, and we can help. We have an HCL. So we have, hardware that we know it can run on just fine, and you could just straight up install Scale software on that. We very often and traditionally have sold appliances because the most effective way prior to Broadcom to switch a customer from VMware to Scale was during a hardware refresh, right? When they were looking at everything. And certain things in our technology, such as a much, much more efficient storage stack, where you could get the benefits of hyperconvergence without the overhead of hyperconvergence, was key. And one of the things on that note, just for those that are new, you can run Scale in a clustered environment. We have some deployments running tens and tens of petabytes of storage. But you can also run Scale on a single device, which is not where your head goes when you think of hyperconverged. I mean, in fact, hold up here. This is a Intel NUC right? The smallest point we have is one as a customer. We have many customers doing this actually, but a customer running on one of these, right? And this only has the one in my hand, I think, has 4 gigs of RAM, right? But you can run the full stack, exactly the same stack on that little device that a large airport comes to mind in California that runs all on scale, right? I mean, you can do that, right? So it's the same universal stack, across the board there. The other thing that's coming is that we will have different versions of the software that our partners, like you guys, can just install on your own. So to Scott's point, if you have great programs with your hardware vendor of choice, and you get your rebates and all that kind of stuff, we can and will provide you software so that you can just do the install right on that brand new hardware. So if a customer has existing hardware they need to keep using, come talk to us. There's a good chance we can make that work. If it's hardware that you want to procure it because you're going to get a rebate from Dell or Lenovo or what have you, we've got software that'll work for that. Or if it's easier for you guys to bring those through us, which has been traditional, hey, we're just going to buy it as a bundle, have it show up at the customer fully integrated, and get that all through scale. Or maybe you're a smaller partner and you don't get the same kind of rebates that make it effective. Come to us and we can do the whole thing, right? So there's a number of different ways to win there.
So that's perfect. And yeah, that's I was leading the witness there a little bit with that question, trying to get to that last piece there, which is an exciting part. And when I got asked that question of why scale, why now, the two things that stand out to me is, one, the market's never been as willing for a VMware alternative, right? As a partner, you need to make sure there's a need in the market. And a lot of the times there wasn't those, I think I saw VMware as 300,000 customers. So there wasn't the need for those 200,000 that you talked about to be making a switch. So now there's the need in the market, there's the interest in the market. And the other side of it is we're trying to make it easier to make that switch. And there's never been more of a relevant time for us to do this than now. So I think we're trying to make it as easy for you to partner with us, to sell us, to deal with all of the different use cases that are out there. And with that, I'm going to actually jump into some slides. So Jeff, you're welcome to comment on any of these slides, but the interview portion of this is done. And this is more some information that I've seen a lot of questions on. And I really want to get to the migration piece before the hour, because I think that's probably been the most asked question on the questions I've seen so far. So thank you so far, Jeff. And obviously, if you have any other questions for Jeff, feel free to shoot him that. You can see his email. Perfect. Okay, so first thing, a lot of new partners, a lot of maybe new reps at existing partners wanting to figure out, hey, how do I work more with scale? If you want to register, there's questions around, do we have VMware alternative content? Yes. The first place I would look is scalecomputing.com. There's a ton of just go to scalecomputing.com, and the landing page itself has everything around the VMware alternative stuff. So obviously that's top of mind for us. You go to the bar on the tab on the left side, and the very top one is migrating to scale. And there's promos, there's videos, there's tons of collateral within that. And I've had a lot of questions, people asking me for content around the VMware alternative. There's great stuff in the portal that's marketing collateral, things where you can put campaigns together. And on the website, everything else that you need to send to customers to get them interested, and to incentivize them as well to have conversations with us. So if you want to get registered, it's very seamless. It's not a difficult process to get signed up with us. There's that register here button. Register here and apply now. This is a top secret, but it actually goes to the same link. If you're new and we don't have that domain, then it's going to ask you to register, and you'll go through a different step. If you already have an existing account with us and you're just a new rep under that account, then I'll give you immediate access. So easy process to get signed up, a few clicks and you're officially registered to log into the partner portal, and then engage with us and figure out what does that next step look like. QR code up there, you'll see that there's a trend on my slides with QR codes. If you do miss it though, we can always send out these slides afterwards, and this will be in the recording. Jeff talked about a lot about different programs that we have. So what we're trying to do is, when we have a lot of these conversations with partners since all of this commotion in the market has happened, we've been trying to figure out, what are the most common scenarios, and Jeff kind of hit it. There's a third of those customers, that's 100,000 customers, that's a lot of customers globally, are looking to make a move off of VMware, and there's this some of them are going to be at the point where, their hardware is end of life. It's a rip and replace. They're looking for new hardware. They're looking for new software. We want to make that easy for them. So this rip and replace promo that we have is a very attractive pricing on the software. If you compare it to VMware, especially if you're talking vSAN, our price positioning is going to be very attractive compared to what you're going to see on any existing quotes. That's our pricing strategy. We're meant to be more a cost-effective solution up front, even more cost-effective long-term. But with this, there's also inclusive of migration training, advanced training for you all as a partner, so you can sell that if you want to sell that, or if you want us to do it, you can sell it and we will do it for you. I'm a big advocate for making sure that our partners make more margin by selling their services. So if we can enable you to sell these services and you to do the migrations, we're all for it. We can be there on the back end to help support that. And then the other thing that we're doing that just launched yesterday on the 14th, was it yesterday, the 14th? Yeah. Was the seamless switch. What we're doing with that is, if you have customers that have a limited life left on their VMware existing contract, we'll actually buy that contract out. What we mean by that is we'll give them an extension on the existing contract so that they don't have to worry about, hey, I've got 6 months left, I've got 12 months left. I'll just wait to the end of it. They can make that move now, and we'll make it easier for them by stacking it on top of this. They're going to get a very attractive price on the front end, and they're just going to get an extended time on the total contract that they have with us. So trying to make it easy for you guys to have that conversation as well. When you click here, there's going to be, you scroll down, there's going to be what we call a meeting maker. This is something you can all promote as well. Meeting maker is basically have a meeting with us. If this is something that you're looking to do, we'll give you a Fitbit to make it easier for you to get that meeting and have that conversation with. But from what I've seen, you almost don't even need to have that conversation around giving something to have the meeting. People are very eager to have that meeting right now and see what else is out there in the market. So it's going to be who's the first one to the door, who's the one educating the customers on this, because they're aware, they're just not as aware as you all are about this yet. Hotline time, we're pretty good. Okay, where can I find more information? This is our platform event. Platform, obviously Scale Computing Platform is a product. Platform is our annual conference. This is customer facing as well as partner facing. We've got 2 separate tracks. This is a great opportunity to meet, connect with everyone globally. If you want to meet and connect, you want to talk to Jeff. Jeff is the busiest man that week. He's going to meeting with everybody. He's making sure to take time to meet all of you so that you can be reassured the company that you're working with. It all starts off at that CEO level. So Jeff, I probably just made you even more busy, but this is your time to shine at Platform. There's a QR code down there to get yourself registered. So it's in Las Vegas at Resorts World, which is also a customer of ours. So a pretty cool use case to be able to head to, April 16th to 18th. And it should be a really good time. There's going to be I've seen some stuff. It's going to be awesome. So don't miss out on that, because it's going to be a great opportunity to learn about some of these new things that Jeff has even alluded to with the software and some of these new programs that we have coming out, because this is all moving quick in real time.
Yeah, and as you had on there, right, you get to see our not just the roadmap, of course, and what's coming from Scale, but our ecosystem partners will be there as well. And that advanced training is available for those that come on site.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the one thing to get stickier, I mean, somebody had a question about Lenovo materials. Absolutely, we're getting all that stuff updated. You probably just didn't know exactly where the new stuff is, but we can get that to you. I think Philippe is your rep, so I'll have him contact you. And you get to a chance to meet all these other alliances that we work with. And that helps us, that helps you build a stickier conversation with the customer as well. How do we build an entire ecosystem of a solution, something that works everything all together? And you guys can get more familiar with some of the partners that we work closely with and that we integrate with. How do I get there now? We have an incentive, a spiff, to make it easier for you guys. I'd say there's a ton of different ways to get to Platform. So if you're interested, the easiest way to do it is to reach out to your rep. If you don't know your rep, reach out to channel at scalecomputing.com. Reach out to myself, S-Man with 2 N's, at scalecomputing.com, and I'd happily get you in touch with the rep, and we can figure out how to get you down there. If you want to be there, we want you to be there, because this is going to be the most important platform event that we've ever had. And it's also going to be one of the best locations that we're going to be able to do. So there's different ways on this one with deal registrations, closed opportunities, but reach out to your rep. Let's have a conversation and let's get you out there. And with that, I kind of flew through that, Mikey, but I wanted to make sure to leave a good amount of time for you because the migration piece is important. I'll kick this over to Mike Lyon, guru on our solutions architect team, and he'll talk a little bit about migrations, how you guys can work with us, how you guys can do it yourselves, and what some of the options are out there. So, Mikey, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Scott. Yeah, I want to try and hopefully answer some questions that are probably existing right now. But really, I think a lot of times we worry about migration becoming the largest barrier to adoption because we get that, okay, yes, we make that decision, that consensus that we want to move to scale, but then that gets overwhelmed by the inertia of how do I get everything migrated from point A onto scale, right? There are probably previous migration challenges that may be looming large from, a decade plus ago. It was more disruptive than expected, and you're expecting to have that kind of scenario now. But we really have done a lot to make that migration as easy as possible. One of our other essays once said, "You trip and fall into scale," and it really is that easy. So I'll talk about how our migration tool that we use that we can provides very easy button type migration from point A to point B. Um, Getting rid of the outages, the downtime, a lot of times the disruptions that we expect in current migrations, we can really eliminate that downtime, minimize it and eliminate it altogether in some cases. And also provide automation, right? So when we need to do large scale deployments, how do we do those migrations for dozens to hundreds of VMs and workloads? And we've also got some services that we can use to both train you and get you familiar with how we do migrations so that you can deliver those, but also ones that you can resell, right? Everything from a self-service to more of a full service end-to-end migration. Those are all things that we can do. So we really want to make sure that our partners can deliver migration services themselves and that you're comfortable with the product.
I'm
If you
also
want to
going
just move
to
to the next one.
I'm going to
Oh,
quickly
go
plug
ahead.
in here because there is also an advanced training course that we're doing, so a certification that's happening on the first day. So if anybody's interested, hey, I want to get there, I want to learn more about scale. It's obviously great to meet the team, but there's going to be a whole knowledge transfer that happens with our advanced training course on the first day. So if you're interested in that, again, reach out to the team. Sorry, Mikey.
Yeah, no, let's go ahead to the next slide. So to talk about our tool that we call Scale Computing Move, and like Scott alluded to, this will also be covered in the advanced training. But this is our core migration tool that we use for most deployments. It has the ability to bring in and ingest a workload from any environment, be that cloud, physical, or virtual. But we've used it over the years for literally tens of thousands of VMs, bringing those onto scale. It's very proven, it's reliable, and it's easy to use. And it's really giving you the ability to migrate any x86 operating system at any guest with both current VM as well as legacy guest OS support. And that's important because we still encounter a lot of production environments that are using older OSs that are on failing hardware. And at a minimum, we need to get those moved over to scale. And we give you a means to do that, right? To give you a time capsule, if you will, to get those preserved. Yeah, so the actual Move console, it's a very easy to use GUI driven platform, and it's migrating everything. So server state, all the applications and data gets migrated over. Nothing gets left behind. You actually have the ability to do just large data migrations as well. So if you wanted to use that as an opportunity to upgrade to a newer operating system and just migrate the data, you can do that. But one of the nice things it does, it eliminates all of the previous components that get left behind from an environment that's no longer necessary, right? The tools, the drivers, the guestware, everything that gets built up over the previous years, we're moving it over to a new clean environment right on scale. And this tool, most importantly, it's going to be free with our VMware migration promotion. So we want to get you using this because it does make it easiest, right? It's the easiest way to do migrations either individually or en masse. But we have other ways to accomplish that. So to talk about that, let's go to the next slide.
Again, Mikey, I cannot interject and add something.
No, go
Just
ahead.
on the free part of that, I just want to highlight because I have heard of some other alternatives doing a free move option, and there's kind of like a minimum starting point, which is much larger than a lot of the customers that have talked to us about were interested and are able to do. So with the free promotion here, it's available to all sizes. So there's not a minimum sale size. It's free to anybody. So if you have an SMB customer, if you have an enterprise customer, it's inclusive to all of those.
Yeah, that's great because it really is incredibly easy to use. It's just an overview of basically it's moving at a block level, the entirety of the image. But if we want to go to the next slide, if you wanted to actually see it in action, there's a couple things on our website, scalecomputing.com/migration to scale computing. That's where this YouTube video, so you can get the link here or also when we send out the slides. But Mike O'Neill, director of essays, actually runs through a failover and a cutover using our migration tool. And this is relatively recent, within the past 2 weeks. You can get a feel for how quickly and how easily we can move those workloads over. I think that video is less than 8 minutes, just to give you an example. And honestly, after watching that, that would give you enough of a foundation to get started and using it to begin getting those migrations started.
There's also training. If you're, I got to chime in on everything.
Yeah.
There's also on the partner portal. So that's a great video to walk through. If you want to get access to the training on the partner portal, let us know as well.
Outside of the migration tool, which, like I said, is going to be your best bet as far as broad spectrum support, we do have our own native upload and conversion capabilities. So whether you've got appliances, OVAs, or templates, we can browse data stores. We can natively bring in those foreign virtual machine disk types, convert those to scale. This is something that is also scalable. This has endpoints within our API, so you can automate this. This is really nice when you're dealing with larger development environments, or really where you have a lot of offline data that you want to migrate, that you don't need to use a migration tool. Their templates, they aren't going to get brought online. We have our own native migration that's built in. You want to move on to the next slide. And then utilizing existing bare metal restore options, for example, an existing agent-based backup that can restore. A lot of times they'll generate their own ISO or bootable media environment where we can restore onto new hardware, onto new platforms. That's another way where you can do those backup and restores in parallel. I want to go to the next slide, but ultimately, using the tool is probably going to provide the broadest support. We have a couple ways to get you familiar with that and also even sell completed migrations. The first thing we have is a quick start migration, which is really a training service, right? And part of this is covered in the advanced training, but if you wanted to learn specific to migration, we have a quick start service that provides the walkthrough and failover migration of one VM. And with that, the knowledge transfer, right? The requisite training, everything you'd need to learn how to use that tool and then repeat that process. So it's really training on how to use the migration. If you want to go to the next slide, we've got the option to do a migrate service. So if you want to have us as a services team, services org, deliver those migrations for you, we can actually do those migrations remotely from an end-to-end prospect, whether this is doing a couple dozen or a couple hundred VMs. If you need that to be done at scale and you want some assistance with that, those are migration services that we can do. But ultimately, the training, like we mentioned before, both the quick start service as well as the advanced training that's going to be available at platform, that's going to give you the visibility and the training needed to do migrations repeatedly. Want to go on to the next slide. Other automation options we have for migration, leveraging our API as well as our Ansible plugins. There are ways, again, to script and turn into PowerShell, Python, other DevOps-oriented tools. Really, if you wanted to align an existing organization's automation processes that may already be in place, a lot of times those have pretty much a one-for-one analog with our automation endpoint. So a lot of the existing tooling and script work that's already been done can very easily be ported onto scale so that we can extend the automation, not just to the ongoing management and maintenance, but we can extend that automation to the actual upload, the initial population, getting the VMs migrated, getting them onto scale. We have a lot of ways to drive that automation and make that easy as well.
Yeah, this is also a key one for CSPs. We had a presentation last night, and I think this is the most important factor for the cloud provider, that we had an automation tool that they could build their platform around our platform, if that makes sense.
Yep. Enabling mobility really from any platform. So whether you want to use a DIY approach with our import endpoints, excuse me, or the migration tool, it's a great way to go.
I think that's it for the slides, right, Mike? You didn't miss anything there?
Yep. You're good.
And you did very good job of keeping it within 2 minutes. Jeff, anything, you've been answering a lot of questions in there. I've seen you answering live. So anything that you want to quickly address from the questions that you've been seeing that maybe we didn't hit throughout the presentation?
Yeah, and again, if you have questions that come to mind after the fact, not only can you reach out to us through the channel team, but again, just you can email me directly. Totally fine. I would say, right, there's lots of questions around backup that came across. We have lots of integrations with backup vendors. Many of those will be at our platform event in April in Las Vegas, so you can come talk to them. I'm pretty sure we have customers running every major backup solution and some that are less. Also, for those not familiar, the product itself has a lot of this functionality built in. So you can not only do full disaster recovery, which is built in to scale, but you can get all the way down to, hey, I need to recover an individual file because a user accidentally deleted it or something like that. That's built into scale as well. So I would encourage you, of course, to continue to use a third-party backup, but all of this is possible. The other thing about scale licensing is this is all built in, right? So whether you bought that single node on that NUC or you have a 10,000 node environment, all of those features are in there. So it's not something that only certain users get. This is kind of across the board. So we've got you covered there. I think the other thing that can be a little bit confusing is, we've had a few questions. Can you use external storage with scale, or you have a customer that has a SAN? And the answer is yes. You can connect external storage into scale. And so even if you're an existing customer or existing partner and you're not familiar with how that works, come talk to us. There's ways to do that, and there's certain use cases in which this is extremely common. In fact, you can run both the HCI part of scale and the external storage simultaneously. So in certain use cases, you want ultra high performance, you might run the HCI piece for that, and then have that connected into some kind of SAN or NAS for deeper storage, long-term retention, etc. So all of this is possible. The last thing, and I did answer this, but I'm sure everybody's not reading every question that's being submitted, is if you do have customers that think, well, okay, all the hardware I have right now is sufficient. That can be the case, right? Again, we've got software, we have different ways to deal with that, but we also have incentive programs running to make it extremely cost advantageous for those customers to upgrade now. Now, why would we do that? Right? I mean, I'm not just giving the stuff away for free, but I also know, and this is to your advantage as well as our partners, if we can create the refresh cycle for those customers and get them to not just embrace scale as the software, but move them into the full scale experience with the integrated appliances and so forth, we're able to retain that customer for the long haul. Right. And so if we can take the cost of those refreshes out of the equation, but still execute the refresh, that's what we're making available. So please, please come talk to us about any deal, right? And this goes for reaching out to me directly. As I said, whether it's one customer who's got one question because they have they're going to run a single node system, that's fine, all the way through the biggest. We'll talk to them all.
Thanks so much, Jeff. And thanks you, Mikey. And thank you all. You hung on here. Most of you hung on here quite a few minutes after the call. If you have any questions, channel@scalecomputing.com. Hope you enjoyed this. Any feedback, please send that to us as well. We'd love to hear it. Thank you all, and have yourself a great Thursday.